The following show features episodic breakdowns of Jackass, either performed by professionals or under the supervision of professionals. For your safety, avoid listening to this podcast at all times. Hi, I'm Mikey Aaronworth.
I'm Jason Wellwood.
And I'm Chris Aaronworth.
Welcome to Jackass.
Welcome to Jackast. It's the podcast where we're on a path of destruction through every single episode of Jackass.
We're three lifelong fans of the show and movies reliving the belly laughs, bad ideas, and broken bones.
We got a special one for you today, folks. We are getting into Jackass Forever. Great movie. And it came out on February 3rd of the year 2022. Yeah, that was yesterday.
Man, that was yesterday.
That was yesterday.
Tell me you have a fun fact for us for yesterday. I want to know what happened yesterday.
There was this little baby boy.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a little
I knew
baby
you were
boy.
gonna do this.
I've known him my whole life, and he reached the ripe age of 33 years old. And I took this little boy out to a movie, and it happened to land. What are the odds that this movie got redirected so many times and ended up landing literally on Mikey, podcast host, the bad boy of podcasting's birthday?
Yeah,
Chris loves taking little boys out to the movie theater. Just by the way,
he's 33 now. Come on, Jay.
I was honestly like I when I first heard that they were delaying the movie and that it was coming out February 4th originally, like that's technically the release date is February 4th, right? And it just so happened that there were some pre-showings for whatever reason. I don't know how movies work or why they do these things, probably for the box office numbers or something like that. And it lands on my birthday, and I was kind of bummed out about it because I was like, how am I going to navigate, my birthday and the movie and all this stuff? And then I just succumbed to it. I was like, you know what? I get to watch a movie that I've been waiting decades to see, finally on my birthday with my brother. It was awesome. Dude. And I can't say I was let down. I don't know. Just off the bat, I was ecstatic to be able to see this, and I barely slept last night because all I wanted to do was wake up and talk about this fucking movie.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little bit of a birthday for everybody, wasn't it, Mikey? Mm-hmm. I don't want you to hog all the spotlight now. Come on. Listen, this is a big fucking episode. I think the reason we started this podcast, was partially due in part to this coming out, because it just reignited our passion for the show, the movies, everything. And I gotta say, this journey we've been on, if you're new to the podcast, welcome, by the way. We have covered the first 2 seasons of Jackass, the first movie, the second movie, and some of Viva and Wild Boys so far as well. So if you're new, go back and enjoy those. And I just want to say, like, from the perspective of a longtime viewer of the show and being able to relive this movie experience, just having the context from doing this podcast and going into it made it so much fucking sweeter. I don't know if you guys noticed, because I was picking up references I totally would have forgot about. Just seeing I feel like I live with these guys because we're with them every week. So seeing their character come out behind the scenes on camera, it's like, I totally get these people way better than I would have if this was just like a nostalgic rewatch. So I feel like it was a little special just coming from a podcast perspective, It was nice.
It definitely was. Going into the movie theater and you see all the people around, you see a wide array of ages, types of people. It just was such a different demographic as when last time we were in theaters watching these things. It was all young guys like us, and it was just like this crazy experience. And now you realize how much Jackass has evolved. It's touched so many different people in different ways. And because we're these like little bad boy podcast hosts, if I might say so myself, I felt like I was in the movie theater like an expert, like, you don't know about this, and making comments to Mikey so other people would hear it and learn these little behind the scenes secrets that we got to figure out because we've been following these guys and talking about them for the past, year now? It's probably been almost a year since we've been doing this.
It's getting there. Yeah, it's funny because, and Chris and I will talk about this a little. As we mentioned, we saw the movie together, and there were people behind us, some of whom had never seen, actually none of them had seen Jackass before. They didn't know what Jackass was. And as a little teaser, one of them said at one point, probably like 10 minutes into the movie, like, I think he said something like, "This is whack. Are you telling me it's just like a bunch of YouTube clips pieced together or something like that?" And I literally turned around and I was like, "Do you not know what Jackass is?" And then they were like, "Oh, we know who Jasper is." And I was like, "Okay, then I guess we're here for Jasper."
It's good. It's a good thing though. Let's not like shit on the younger crowd, because I had that in my crowd too. I'm glad younger people are going to see this shit. That makes me fucking happy.
I agree 100%.
Yes, and we are better than all of you. That's why we do this podcast.
That's true.
I mean, that's the fucking lesson. I don't want to sound like a prick, but listen, just whatever fucking age you are, young, old, longtime fan, new fan, I hope you enjoyed this movie as much as we all did. And I think we got to just jump in and talk about it. What was your guys' experience sitting down in the fucking theater, though? Just like, what was going on in your head before the fucking, previews ended and you saw Johnny Knoxville up there on screen telling you that, hey, stick around after the movie. We got something special for you. Like, just break it down for me. What was that like for you?
Honestly, it was surreal. Like it felt like I had to keep pinching myself. I had basically said my eulogy to Jackass. I had just assumed I was never going to get it again. And as soon as, and especially like, there's this weird feeling when the stories about Bam came out and it's like, Bam's not going to be in it and the movie keeps getting delayed. Part of you, like, logically this doesn't make sense, but part of me was just like, this movie just isn't going to come out. This is fake. This is all a rumor. We're never going to get to see it. And then you finally get that moment where Johnny comes on, which he teases a little bit of extras after the movie. And he also does that thing that it happens at the beginning of every movie now where someone in the crew comes on and like thanks you for going to see movies. Let's stop that. We don't need that anymore. I'm not going to continue going to movies because Johnny Knoxville at the beginning of Jackass was like, thanks for coming here. Like, he didn't want to be doing that and I don't want to be seeing it. Just show me the fucking movie at that point. Yeah.
I gotta say though, I do appreciate that he tipped us off to stick around because I always feel like a fucking idiot at the end of a Marvel movie being like, is there going to be a thing? Is there going to be a thing after? Should I wait? Should I get up like these guys over here and leave? Yeah. No, I'm glad they fucking said straight up, just sit your ass down and wait. That was cool. Chris, what was your experience?
Man, I got in. Like, I picked up Mikey. It was his birthday. I finished work. We rushed back to my place. Had a few drinks, got into the mood, and you could just feel the excitement like building. Like, I couldn't sit down. I was pacing around my condo. Like, I just like, what? Let's just go. Let's go. Got into the theater. You get that popcorn going on. Both of us broke the popcorn rule where you're like, you're not allowed to touch popcorn until the movie actually starts.
Oh, fuck that.
That's not an actual rule. We just make that up for one another.
Well, it is what it is. So, we're going there. You see, I was just taking in all the new people, all the crowd, the people behind us, the guys behind us. It was like I said, it was a group of young guys and they were like talking a bunch. And I was like, Part of me, I'm so used to being at regular movies, was like, oh, here we go. This is going to be annoying. And then it made me remember what it was like when I saw Jackass originally, like I alluded to on the podcast before. Everyone's talking. People are laughing. You're making jokes. It's part of the whole energy, which is why I wanted to make sure I saw this in theaters. It was so important to do so.
You want that concert vibe. You definitely want it to be more like a concert. Yeah.
And, we brought a few beers in. We just the vibe was amazing, man. I was so hyped up. And when that initial warning comes up on the screen, I posted on the Instagram account.
I was expecting to hear Mikey at that part.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like just introing the podcast. I've gotten pretty good at it. I think I do a better job than Johnny sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. But boys, I won't go too deep into my experience because I do want to just start talking about it. But I will say this, sitting down at the theater, I was there with my brother as well. I don't know if that's a thing you take.
That's what I was going to ask you who you saw it with.
It's fucking weird, right? We went together, but I will say this. It felt special. It's kind of like Mikey, what you already mentioned. It felt like it shouldn't have happened, but I'm happy that it did. And I was just sitting there thinking, I'm fucking happy right now. I don't even care what comes next. If this is a terrible fucking bomb of a movie, this is just a good moment right now. And I'm so fucking happy to be sitting in this seat. And then, like you guys said, the disclaimer comes on and you're just locked in. Like the rest of the world just disappeared. And I was just 100% like focused on this fucking thing and ready to go. And it did not disappoint. I think it's about time we talk about the intro to this movie because Jackass movies are notorious since the first one for having big budget, big splash on the intro. They want to get you excited. And before we break down the Jackass Forever intro, let's go back in time a little bit and look at some of the previous Jackass intros that we've seen. Mikey, this was your idea. I think it's fantastic. Just tell us, why don't you run us through it? Like, take us back to Jackass 1.
Definitely.
What's going on there?
So before I do this, I also want to say, obviously, we've seen a lot of organic growth over the last few weeks on our socials and our podcast as well. So if you're new to this, if this is the first time you're listening to this podcast because you were searching Jackass Forever and this came up, first of all, thanks for taking a shot on us. Very much appreciated. Secondly, usually the format of this podcast is a little bit different where we do an actual stunt by stunt breakdown of every episode or movie of the TV show or movie, and we give it a rating and this, that, and the other. This episode is going to be a little bit different because we were so excited about watching the movie and we have so many thoughts about the experience itself and some of the new people. We wanted to do this episode as more of a general, our thoughts and feelings on the movie, and then down the line when we have a chance to watch the movie again and really get our stunt by stunt notes done, then we'll have another release of the episode where we go into much more depth. So that's just a way to say this is a slightly different format than we normally do, and if you're interested in what I just said, go back, as Jay mentioned earlier, and listen to some of the earlier episodes. But to your question, Jay, the intros I think are such an important part of Jackass. Obviously, you got Jackass 1, where I think shopping carts and like from the CKY crew were so iconic in the Jackass world. It's like they were synonymous, Jackass with shopping carts. And you have this giant shopping cart. The entire crew is in it, barreling down the street. There's a lot of explosions, lots of slow motion. There's like little stories going on between all the members of Jackass fighting amongst one another as they go. In the second one, you have the running of the bulls. At that point, it felt like bulls had taken over shopping carts in the Jackass world. That was now the new thing, and that continued into this episode. Even though in one episode of this podcast, Chris said he didn't think that bulls were iconic in Jackass and was swiftly reminded.
No, you guys are misconstruing my words.
Every movie.
Yeah, that's bullshit. That's fucking utter bullshit.
Utter bullshit. Bulls don't have udders, Chris. Those are cows.
Yeah. Thank you, Mikey.
Why do you gotta be
science
so
guy
smart?
over here. Listen,
Fucking
but
Bill
you're right.
Nye over here.
The
And then,
shopping carts and the bull run in town in Jackass 2, super iconic.
Yeah,
but
and then Jackass 3, you've got basically just like a hodgepodge of people in costumes and a lot of slow motion and a lot of leaning on 3D, as every movie was at that point in time.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention that, like, you can see a progression here, and like they kind of want to one up themselves every time. And I think like with the 3D era, they're shooting dildos at the camera. You get slow motion paintball and all sorts of stuff. I was kind of wondering going into Forever, how are they going to do better? Because those intros are all very iconic. They stand out in memory. And I think they did a good job here, even though it wasn't really what I was expecting. As soon as I caught
totally
on to the premise of what was about to happen, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, this is going to be a great intro. So just before we say what it is, I just want to say, you see these scale models, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. Anytime you see small scale models of like a city or a bathroom, for example, you know one of two things is likely to happen. You're either going to see someone's dick or someone taking a huge shit on the scale model. And that was where my mind went immediately. And turn the corner. And Chris, why don't you do the big reveal? What do we see standing in between two large skyscrapers for the intro of this movie?
But Pontius's beautiful hog. Although it was dressed, up as a Godzilla type character, but it was just seeing him standing there. I didn't even clue into it. Like, I knew it was a big dick monster, but I didn't realize it was like a claymation scale version of it. And when they did that reveal, I fucking absolutely died. Especially how funny the nutsack looked. It looked so realistic and just so vivid. It was just, that was my favorite part.
That's because it was.
I didn't realize it was a very real nutsack. I didn't realize what 4K does to a nutsack, but that was like real high definition nutsack.
Oh, you can see the hairs and everything, man.
Oh man, it is
beautiful.
like. We talked on last week's episode about feeling bad for having to, like, because one of Bam's friends makes out with someone at a gas station in an episode of Viva La Bam. They're like, poor women having to deal with shit like that. This is like anyone who is into ball sacks or has to deal with ball sacks. If you love him, awesome. But I feel bad. Like, I've got one of those, and I just feel bad anytime anyone has to go near it. It just can't be enjoyable. They look so weird, and especially up close. And even for Pontius, who's got as perfect a dick as you can ask for, even for him, it's like, what the fuck is this thing?
Man, I love, like, when you see this Godzilla cock appear too, how it almost, you know what it is, but because it's so decorated, it almost takes you 1 or 2 seconds to go, oh, okay, that is a cock I'm looking at.
Yes.
Like, you second guess yourself. They did a good job on the hair and makeup. Whoever was, in charge of that, I hope they got credited. But yeah.
And Jay, imagine, like we mentioned, the people behind us, and we're going to keep touching on the people behind us as we go on, just to provide some context for people who don't have the vocabulary of Jackass at their disposal. these kids who are all kind of trying to like be, you know, tough kids, and they've all got their bravado going on and this and that. The first thing they see is a giant green dick, and they start mumbling. They're like, one of them goes like, just like you can hear him lean back in his chair. He's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, he's like not okay.
Yeah.
He's not okay with it. But they're kind of like playing each other out, like seeing like, are you okay with looking at this? Am I like, so I'm okay to, and they handled it well. There were no homophobic remarks or anything like that. They did well. Thumbs up in my book.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. See, when you go to Jackass with someone who's seasoned, like my brother and I, you don't even have to ask those questions. You just laugh, and you know it's okay. You know. It's fine. I mean, it's 2021. Like, who cares? Don't have a dick phobia. Don't be worried about it. Nobody cares. I think, like, the fact that something that blew my mind, though, is I had a bit of, like, a time warp when I was sitting there thinking, like, there was a time in movie theaters where this shit seemed like an impossibility. This would never be on a big screen. Mm-hmm. And now we're sitting here looking at it, and it's like, holy shit, when did this change? The first thing I could think of that was like a pinpoint moment was maybe when Bruno came out, if you remember that movie.
Oh, yes.
I think that was the turning point. But
when the penis literally says, Bruno.
Yeah. There was people, dude, getting up and leaving the theater back then. I went when it came out, like just visibly upset that what they just saw. And
Jay, I don't think they were leaving because they were upset. I think they went to go see the movie because that's the only scene they cared about. The scene's over. They don't have any more need for the movie. They got what they needed. They're running home and keeping that in their spank bank.
Yeah, like a good old fashioned porno theater. Whack one out and head home to the missus. And
now, Jay, you mentioned earlier. You're like, how are they going to top the intros that they've done in the past?
Yeah.
And this is kind of a common theme because they chose not to try. And I think this is a theme with the movie in general. They're not trying to be bigger than or better than. They're just trying to be different and unique. They're trying to be like their own movie. They don't necessarily want to be compared all the time to Jackass 1 and 2, because especially with the older stars in this movie, like Johnny Knoxville, Pontius, with the exception of Danger Ehren, who's a fucking maniac in this movie, they all don't have the capacity to do what they used to do. So they're not trying to beat Jackass 1, 2, and 3 or the TV show. And that goes to the intros as well. They just did something incredibly different. It wasn't like, if you think about the first 3 movies, there was like musical scores and this and everything was big and flashy and this, and there were elements of it, but instead they just told a narrative, which was like awesome.
Yeah, it was like watching a little
different
student short film with a lot of dick in it. I don't know. Are you sure they weren't trying to top themselves though? Are you sure? Because I don't know what you saw, but I saw Tony Hawk getting a facial, and I don't know if it gets much better than that. I don't know if it gets much better than that.
Good.
I just gotta say, when the dick, that's his big attack. Like if this is fucking some anime, Dragon Ball Z, he was charging that attack up, and he just comes everywhere. Like it is an explosion of cum. There's
I call that a Kamehameha.
Thank you.
Wow.
And I would also call it Pontius Ball Z because they're his balls.
Oh, very
I'm just
good.
punching this up a little bit.
Like
I was so into. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
jump
Jay.
in, man. All you.
I was so into the claymation and just the scene. They did such a good job at making it like a Godzilla scene that there was the point when the snapping turtle came up, the whole theater goes, oh, yeah. I was like, it's just a snapping turtle. Why are they so worried? Like, is this some character I'm missing out? Because I didn't clue into the fact that it was still Pontius's real dick and he was going to have to fight a snapping turtle.
Yeah, you
and
were
when
invested.
that happened, it blew my mind. But they did such a good job at the misdirection for me. I was just so into the scene that I didn't even clue into that. And when that happened, man, oh my, I couldn't. Yeah. I was just blown away.
Oh
literally.
Man, I know. I had that same moment too, where I saw the snapping turtle, and I was so invested as well, where it took a moment to kind of put 2 and 2 together and go, okay, I see where it's going. But one thing that's beautiful about this too is this not only is an intro to introduce the old cast. We see a bunch of shots of, like, for example, just run through a few. There's like Dave England and Wee Man up on a big sign. They're putting in the letters for the premiere of Jackass Forever on a theater marquee. Yeah. And, Wee Man's got the headphones on. He's not listening. He doesn't realize there's a giant cock monster coming at. And then they see him and there's an explosion and the guys fly off the marquee. You've got Danger Ehren gets football tackled by a football player into a fruit cart. Like, all sorts of things happen, like, to introduce the cast. But what I loved is they took this as an opportunity to introduce you to the new cast members, who all also get covered in cum. Because, like, of course, the vets aren't the ones getting the cum shot. It's the new guys. But it's a good way to kind of set up the scene and go, okay, I see if you didn't know from the trailers and the promotional material that this Jackass is a movie to not only bring back what you love, but to pass the torch in a sense, this was a good way to show that, hey, look out for these guys. They're going to do something special here. I liked that.
Definitely. It was, and you got that sense as well. There's a lot of times in the movie where there is that passing of the torch. And I think we can say off the top, before we wrap up our thoughts on the intro, Poopies is the new Johnny Knoxville. And they didn't even try to hide the fact that he's the guy now. It's crazy that his name is Poopies.
Poopies.
Like, okay, I'm here for it, but it's so they don't like, even to the point where on like Human Ramp, which is one of the stunts that comes right after the intro, I think, they pair up Johnny and Poopies together under one ramp. It's saying like these, okay, you remember Johnny, you remember how he carried the weight of most of the movies. There's a new guy to do that, and it's going to be.
Was Poopies again? Was Poopies farting on Johnny Knoxville? The metaphorical, I am your boss now.
That was great. They're lying on top of each other. He just lets one rip. Oh. And Johnny's reaction to that too. He played right into it. Like, he's like, this guy totally fits in with us. I love this. Like, and the thing is, on that, when they're doing the human ramp, which we'll talk about in a second, you have to understand too, that's the first time that the new guys were on set with the Jackass crew. So the fact that he laid on top of Knoxville and just ripped a fart on him is awesome. I love that. What better way to get acquainted? And I got to say one more quick thought on Poopies before we move on. You said he's like the new Johnny Knoxville. I could see that. Yeah, he could carry the torch and be like a marquee guy for this series. But I do also feel like Poopies is also the everyman. Poopies is us. We are Poopies. He's the audience analog. When you look at him and you're like, if I was to hang out with these guys, I'd be out of my element, but I'd want to impress them by any means necessary. That's fucking Poopies. He's willing to do anything and everything to fit in here.
Maybe you guys identify with different things that I do, but like, the fact that they go out of their way to stress how fucking stupid he is. Like, they're like, he's a dumbass. Like, he's an idiot.
Aren't we all though? I mean,
fair. I guess we are. They're like, you know what Poopies is? He's like, maybe not the analog to us, but like, if we're making playing a video game, he's our creative character. He's kind of like, he doesn't have to be one-to-one with who we are, but I think he's he's excited, he gets hurt, he's afraid, he experiences emotions in the way that I would expect a real person to experience emotions in these stunts.
Yeah. And I mean, we're going to talk about in a little bit here the new cast in more detail, I think, but I do want to ask you guys about the vets first. Let's just kind of focus on them for just a minute, because that's why we're sitting in the seats, that's why we're here, that's why we're doing the podcast. How did it feel for you guys to see these guys a little bit aged, but still having fun, still having a good time? Like, I know, Chris, you're a huge Pontius fan, for example. Did you feel like, because I felt this when I saw Pontius on screen, it was like he hasn't changed a bit. Like, I feel that's
exactly what I was going to say.
That is the guy I've been watching for 2 seasons and 2 movies now. Like, how did you feel? Like, do you have any?
My biggest fear going in is, would I be distracted by the reality that, we're all getting older and things are changing and just, like the old days are a thing of the past, and would that like hinder my enjoyance of the movie? And the answer is absolutely not. They just made it so much fun. They stepped back a little bit, with exception of Danger Ehren, who absolutely took the most punishment by far, without question. But them taking a step back, they let the new guys shine. They still did the stuff that we know. Pontius in particular and Steve-O basically look like they haven't aged a day. I was really worried that it would just kind of freak me out, just seeing everybody getting older and that type of stuff. But in reality, it didn't. They just did a perfect job at transitioning and just letting the new guys take the heavy loads and sit back, but still have that essence of themselves. And it was just all around just done very well.
Yeah, I loved seeing as well the respect that the new crew had for the old crew.
Yes.
And I agree like 95% with what you guys are saying, that it surprised me how little, or how they kind of didn't miss a step, the older generation of Jackass stars. And I think I needed that at this point in my life. I turned 33. Birthdays are always weird. Post 30, you keep getting older. That's what happens. And I kind of started to feel like I'm past my prime, like I'm getting a little bit older. And then you see the people that I looked to be like the coolest, funniest people that I knew when I was a kid, still being cool and funny and creative in new ways. And I'm like, and then that compounded with the fact that we had these kids behind us who had never seen Jackass, who were learning my experiences, like growing as someone who found these things funny, it was like a coming of age moment for me. I know that feels like I'm overstating it, but it felt like I needed it. Like I needed that to be reminded that, you know, you can still be in your prime in some capacity. The only exception that, and this is the 5% that I disagree with you guys, is there were some moments where a regular spill that they took that would have been brushed off and Johnny would have just laughed about before became like a really big deal. And they'd show it, like they show in the bull flip, for example, how he basically gets flipped by the bull in the exact same way in this movie as he did in, I think, Jackass 2 or 1. And he walks away unscathed in 1 or 2. He's wheeled off in an ambulance in this one. And it's like, okay, there are elements of this that are still super dangerous and they're not as good at coping with it because they are just getting older. Yeah. That was kind of weird to me.
Johnny was like fucking out of it after he took that shot by the bull head on, flips like twice, 2 full rotations in the air, and it takes a second. I'm not joking. It takes like 1 second, then he's on the ground. And I love how you can tell he's fucked up, and he looks at Tremaine, he's like, what did it look like? And then he takes his phone out, and he's like, the phone is you, this is the bull. And then he just flips his phone up in the air, and everybody starts laughing, and it's like, Knoxville's like, he doesn't even know where the fuck he was. I actually had read an article that I think for about 3 or 4 months, he had to do some serious rehabilitation, like mentally, to remember the events that had occurred leading up to that, because he had like lost his memory or something like that. Someone might need to fact check that, but I swear I read something along those lines, because if that's the spot that did it, yeah, somewhere in the filming of the movie, he had a pretty bad, some head trauma there that put him out of commission. But anyway,
that would make sense, because he really didn't feature that prominently in a lot of the things. This was definitely the least Johnny we've seen in a Jackass type thing in relativity to the other people.
Mm-hmm.
So he might have just been out of commission for a lot of the filming, which would definitely make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't want to jump too far ahead or anything either, but I do feel like this might be something we dig into later, but a lot of stuff must have gotten cut because Bam's involvement in the film and the way that went, where he left. I'm sure they probably had some more stuff filmed that they couldn't use. And I was actually talking to my brother about that when we left. Like, he felt, like, this is his opinion, but he felt the movie was lacking in some ways. He wasn't overly impressed with it. Like, he had a good time, but that was one thing he mentioned.
I agree with that.
Where it was like,
I agree.
You know, yeah, and I kind of wondered, like, well, maybe because, you know, you take COVID and then you take the shit with Bam, like, the production was a little rocky in spots. Maybe they had to kind of be like, okay, shit, we need to come up with new stuff quick that we can do that isn't A, in public, and B, doesn't have Bam in it, and, like, what can we do? So I feel like some of the stunts, you can tell they were kind of just, like, quickly put together. Still fun, but not maybe as well thought out as previous movies in some respects.
Yeah.
Jay, to that point, you know what I'm thinking? Because like I just mentioned, there was definitely a lot less Johnny. But if we think back to the other movies, how often were Johnny and Bam paired together as the two kind of front runners? Yeah. So maybe, like you're saying, cutting a lot of the Bam stuff also cut a lot of the Johnny stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I wonder how much they actually did. You know, like if we'll ever get Jackass Forever 0.5 or whatever, and we'll get to see that shit if they smooth things out. I don't know, but it'd be cool if that exists. You know?
I bet you it does. Ooh, you just got me so excited, Jay.
Yeah. But anyway, we should probably move back into it. So one more, since we're still on the topic of the old cast, there's a few things I wanted to mention. PTSD soldier Dave England. Holy shit. We talk about guys looking older. There's a couple shots in the movie of close-ups of Dave, and he looks, to me, in my opinion, like the most haggard out of all of them. And I don't know if that's just from Jackass or that's just how he ages. But one thing I got to mention with him is, like, yeah, you can tell there's points in the movie where he's severely, and Danger Aaron too, but severely fucked up from what's happening to him. Because one of the things Knoxville mentioned in the post-credit sequence is that they had to prank the cast members more because they couldn't do things in public. So that's kind of where the movie ended up going. They were fucking with each other all the time. And there's points in this movie where, like, I wonder if those guys are even going to be able to, like, sleep normally from now on, have intimate relationships where people, you know, with close contact and touch and stuff, because they're so fucked up that...
Especially Dave England.
I would not want to be on that set.
He was in a constant state of, like, perpetual crying. Like, his voice turned into a crying voice the whole movie.
I know.
So he didn't have a normal voice, and he was just like... And guys, he kind of had that whimpering voice throughout the whole thing, which was absolutely incredible to see.
I call that the sucky voice, because if you remember the fire hose rodeo, after he gets off, he says, "Oh, that was so sucky." So it's that voice. Love it.
That's exactly it.
You know how there's always like in a movie where there's like something bad happening to a group of people, there's always the one character that's been there before and it just like isn't happy about being there the second time, but like knows the system, is like the vet. Like Dave Englund is like that. Like the Silence of the Lambs sketch, which maybe could we take a little bit of a second to talk about the Silence of the Lambs one?
That's the highlight of the movie.
Yeah,
for me.
It's one of the highlights.
Break it down. What happens in it? Just so that
in Silence of the Lambs, basically, you got everyone or everyone who's taking part in a room, and they're introduced to a snake, and the snake goes into a jar, and then the doors close. They've separated everyone from Jackass out into like groups of two. Yeah. Dave Englund's group to me is the funniest one.
It's the best.
But you also have Zach Holmes in one. His is pretty good as well. The lights go off completely, and they start to just play pranks. There's people in the room, and they're like touching them without them knowing. They're smacking them in the heads. They're like banging pots and pans, and it must be so dark that they literally can't see anything. But as soon as the lights go off, actually before the lights go off, Dave Englund knows something's up. Like he's been there before.
Yeah.
And as soon as the lights go, like he
finds a door. Someone finds a door. Mikey.
No, Aaron finds the door. But even before the door closes and the lights go off, he's like, "Why are we in here? Why did they?
Why
move
is there
us?"
only
like,
two of us? Yeah, he says
exactly.
I see what you're saying.
But the funniest part of that is they this is the typical Jackass thing of layering a prank on a prank. Like I'm thinking about when they dumped bees in the limo. When everyone was stuck in the limo, speaking of Dave Englund being in there, so he pissed himself. He was so scared. And then outside of the limo, they put marbles so that when they escape the limo, they're all going to fall.
Right.
And then they had drones with paintballs too.
Yes, exactly.
Or they shot them with paintballs. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. This one had a similar vibe where there's a door that the people in the room are supposed to find, thinking they found a way out, and it leads to another room with like frying pans hanging from the ceiling and mouse traps, and they're hitting everything. And the best part about it is you got Danger Ehren, who's like, "Dave, I found a door. It's this way. And Dave immediately is like, "Yeah, there's just going to be an unlocked door. Yeah, good shit." Like he knows. He fucking knows.
The funny part about that is in any other circumstance, if someone did that, you'd be like, "You're just being paranoid. You're over the top."
Yes.
But when he did that as an audience member, I'm like, he's probably fucking right, isn't he?
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
I can't believe Danger Ehren was even fooled by that. It's hilarious though, because he gets what's coming to him. He walks out into the room and just bam, frying pan to the head hanging from the ceiling. And I swear, when that happened, the whole audience in the theater just erupted. Everybody thought that was
one of the best moments.
Because like they're gonna fuck with him when they find that door, but you're just waiting to see what it is, and then they cut over and he just walks into this fucking cast iron.
Because we're watching all this with like night vision, which is awesome. And here's another just a really
great.
nice addition to Jackass is the cameras have gotten so much better. Like I think back to Jackass season 1 when they're doing like a prank inside a Chinese food restaurant where they have like a piece of shit and they put the shit in the food and they try to get the restaurant owners to be like, "Oh, I can't believe we gave you this," whatever. And they're wearing glasses that look like a fucking camcorder, like, and it's grainy. It's like it was filmed on a Sony Ericsson. Like the quality is shit. Now you get like quality video in night vision, so you get to see everything that's going on, just like a nice added touch.
The best part, not the best part, but I just love how they just took the time to throw Pontius in there in a dress just dancing around. Like he didn't do any pranks, he wasn't freaking anybody out, he was just there to be creepy and just goofy and have a good time.
Well, he was doing his Buffalo Bill. He was doing his Buffalo Bill.
That's why it's called Silence of the Lambs. I couldn't figure that out the whole time.
I was kind of wondering, what is Pontius's role in this? Because he didn't really do anything, but he just looked hilarious standing there, and I feel like the sketch gets extra points just because he's standing there the whole time in the background with his nuts and dick tucked between his
And I think maybe apart from Dave being just like impressive with how much he predicts what's going on, and having the line of the sketch where he's just like, where they're like, "You got to leave, Dave. You got to come through this room," and he's like, "No, I'll start a new life in here. Like I'm going to stay here forever," which was hilarious. The star of this one, I think, apart from him, is Zach. Zach was so funny. Like they legitimately convinced him that he got bit by the snake and that it was poisonous, and they're like, "Shit, someone get the lights on! Someone get the lights on!" And he's like, it feels like he's having a heart attack, like he's losing his mind, which was, it's always good when you know that their adrenaline has taken them so far that they think they're going to die. And you know that they're not, like you as the person on the other side of it. But it's always funny, apparently, I like this, to see when someone thinks they're going to die. Is that what I'm getting out of this, actually? I guess so.
Yeah, I loved Poopies' just his commentary and his reactions. Like this is his first big Jackass moment. You could tell, maybe, like I know he was on Shark Week doing other things like that, but I mean, with the Jackass vibes and the pranks, all the new guys, you could see that they were rookies versus someone exactly like Dave Englund who knew there was more to this thing. The other guys are just so desperate and frantic to get the fuck out of there. They aren't thinking. This is exactly when those pranks come into place. But just Poopies just saying they're just so genuinely scared, just making stupid comments was fucking hilarious to me.
Yeah. And there's a great contrast here between you have a group of two with, I believe it's Zach Holmes and is it Poopies together?
I think it's Poopies and Zach together, yeah.
Their group is a great contrast between Dave and Ehren, where you have the vets who know, okay, can't do this, can't do that, because something's going to pop out of here. I'm going to fucking walk into a mousetrap here. And these other guys are just clueless, and they know they're going to get fucked with, but they don't know how. Like, they don't have the nervous tics that these others two do. So I thought that was really interesting, because you get to a point where Zach makes it to the second room, and he like crawls over this bed of tacks and mousetraps because he thinks the exit's on the other side. And
Amazing.
He ends up breaking the table, and he's just like covered in mousetraps hanging off of him. I thought that was like, that's such a rookie thing. I'm just so confused. I don't know what the fuck to do. It's probably better to just stay still. No, I'm going to persevere and get out of this escape room by any means necessary.
And then you have Dave Englund, who like has convinced me he would beat the movie Saw. Like Jigsaw wouldn't be able to trick him.
Yeah,
Dave Englund
like,
would find a way.
I'm not participating. He's just, I'm going to stay in this room forever. I love that line. You already mentioned it, but that's just so brilliant. Like, he's so shooken up. He's like, I ain't coming out of here. Fuck you guys.
Exactly.
So speaking of the new guys, though, Zach Holmes and Poopies and everybody, I think we got to talk a bit about them for a second. I want to transition in and just kind of talk about the fresh blood here. And I have a list in front of me because it's kind of hard to remember these things off of the top of my head. I'm assuming, is Sean is it McGhehey? Is that how you pronounce the name? Is that Poopies?
It's Sean McKierney, or McKierney is Poopies.
Poopies.
I think the most notable new additions would be Rachel Wolfson, who's in a few sketches. I think she's great. Eric Andre, I think he's in a writing capacity, but he's not a new member of it.
Out. Yeah.
There's only 4 official new or 5 official new members, and that's Jasper, Poopies, Rachel Wolfson, Zach and the other guy. The British guy.
Possibly, Eric Manaka. Eric Manaka is the British guy. But he didn't really show very prevalently
so it might just
in this
be the
movie.
4 then.
Yeah.
So there you
do
go.
you guys have a favorite? Do you guys have a favorite of the new guys?
Definitely Poopies, for sure.
Definitely Poopies.
I knew
fair.
Chris would say that.
But as a second sort of question is, did you guys have any trepidation towards accepting new Jackass members, or were you excited for the idea?
No, man, not at all. I was like surprised at how little resistance I had to that. And I think what they did, don't have proof of this, but it seems like they just did a bunch of interviews, like send in your video and we'll interview you if we like your shit. And they just found people who love Jackass. Like, you can tell these aren't like stunt professionals. These are people like us who just grew up watching it and are like, fuck it, I'm going to try to get on that show. And they did. And it's awesome. I love it.
Well, that guy, Zach Holmes, I've known about him. I followed him on Instagram for like a decade, literally. He's been a YouTube guy just doing stunts, basically trying to get to be a part of Jackass. He filmed a stunt. He's in this movie. He did it where he jumped into the not porcupines. What are they called? Cactuses. So he actually went with Steve-O before, and this is his first time getting a chance to meet Steve-O, and he jumped into way more, and it was the most gnarly thing. Go onto his Instagram page or look it up. He had to have surgery. It was one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. And after that, Steve-O actually dubbed him Jackass, and he kind of became an unofficially official Jackass member on the sideline. So to see him actually be doctrined into it in the actual movie was nice, because he was really working hard at this for a long time.
Okay, cool.
That's a good little backstory. But yeah, if you look into him,
if you're out there listening, kids, just know hard work pays off. That's to say, if you jump into cactuses a bunch online and debase yourself on the internet, maybe someday you'll get to do so on the big screen. Don't give up on your dreams, kids.
And Jasper Dolphin was part of Tyler the Creator had at Odd Future. They had a group, but they also had a TV show. It was a prank reality show called Loiter Squad. It's actually not reality, sketch comedy. So he was already in that type of role doing sketch comedy and things like that. I didn't expect him to be someone that would take physical punishment. So I was a little hesitant about his enrollment, but he did. Like, it was a seamless transition. They picked the right people, and they dubbed the movie Jackass Forever for a reason. If these guys are kind of passing along the torch, and now we know that we're going to, hopefully those guys get older and pass the torch, and Jackass isn't just one isolated phenomenon. It's something that we always have for the rest of time. So that's what I'm hoping
I love
for.
that was great. It was basically saying like, it was kind of like the, like after watching Avengers Endgame, it's like, no, but I love all these heroes. I want to see more of these heroes. And they're like, don't worry, there's a passing of the torch. We're going to be able to write these movies forever. It's nice to know that this property of Jackass is now going to continue on, and that it's not inherently related to the original founding members, that it's going to continue in the same way to like Saturday Night Live. Like there are just going to be new crews and new people joining in. I like that fluidity of it.
Yeah. And fuck, I'm glad, Chris, you did your research on that, because that was really cool to hear. I didn't actually know some of the backgrounds of these guys. And yeah, just at the core of it, it does really feel like they're just fans at heart. And I think that's really endearing. And as an audience member, you totally accept these people just because like they love it as much as you do. And that's cool. They're not pretentious about it. Not like fucking Machine Gun Kelly over there.
Dude, he got a boo. He got a boo in our theater when he showed up. Everyone's like,
do you know why that is, Mikey? Do you know why that is? You haven't heard about what's going on in the news with him.
He fucking complained about the temperature of the water when he fell in the pool.
Yeah, dude.
That is nothing. So this old article came out from like when he was like 23 years old or something, and he was talking about one of the Kardashian girls, Kendall Jenner or whatever, and she was like 16 at the time, and he's like, I wouldn't wait till she's 18 to fuck her. I'm gonna fucking fuck her and do all, like, if you read the article, and that just came out like 2 weeks ago, so that's hot on the press. So when he came out in this movie, people were probably like, ooh, like it was a really aggressive article.
I bet you Eminem leaked that article. Eminem didn't like that in order to avoid his beef with Eminem, Machine Gun Kelly turned to emo music and married Megan Fox, and was like kind of having a resurgence in popular culture and media. And then Eminem probably just like floated that article being like, hey, he's a scumbag. I'm coming for you.
Oh man. But overall, new cast, I'm all for them. It was interesting and very progressive of them, of course, to have a female cast member official, because that's something they didn't have before, really. Like, you might have had
I thought Rachel was great, too.
Rachel did a fucking awesome job.
Fantastic.
She's a badass. The first time you see her do, like, a real big stunt is when she licks a taser. And I'm, like, just thinking... Hell. And here's the conceit. So just to break it down and refresh your memories, that everyone's dressed up as mimes. It's Steve-O, Rachel, and Poopies. And you have to do a painful thing, but you can't make any noise. And she just fucking puts her tongue right in there. She licks it twice. I'm sure she didn't even have to fucking do it. She does. No noise. I was impressed by that. Way to debut. Poopies in there was great as well, though.
This is a good kind of like add-on to what we were talking about, because we talked about some of our impressions of the older cast and the newer cast, and this was a one of the first ones where it's almost like a competition between the older and the new. It's Poopies, Rachel, and Steve-O, and it kind of bummed me out that Steve-O lost this one. His thing was that he had to put his shins in a guillotine, and a skateboard fell down onto his shins, which looks awful. But he lost the quiet game. He screamed.
He did.
And I was like, fuck, like you want them to, I was hoping that he was going to win this one and be like, you kids, like you can't hit whatever. Yeah. But he lost, and I guess it just goes to show, you know, we're dealing with some serious talent in these new stars.
I love Steve-O's reaction, and like before they drop the skateboard, he gives this look to the camera that's just like the most beautiful thing ever. Like he's just like fucking terrified, but he's still all in on it, and his like constrained scream, he lets it out for a second, then remembers, oh shit, I'm not supposed to be making noise, and just
exactly
stop,
the pain is so much that he forgot what the point of the game was.
Yeah. Oh man, great times. I'm really happy to just see this whole crew together as a whole, old and new. And it's like Chris, you said already, they want to pass that torch, and that's why it's called Jackass Forever. I do hope that if there is ever a chance that they do something like this again, a TV show, another movie, whatever it is, we'll still see the old guys popping in, but even if it was mostly the new crew doing stunts, the big stunts, I would be okay with that. This movie has sold me on that idea.
Yeah,
and I think that's what they're going for.
And I think it's like, I kind of touched on it. I just want to say another thought popped into my mind. If they,
that's new. That's new for you.
Oh, thank you. if they didn't do it the way that they did by having the old cast still in a prominent role and kind of introducing the new guys, this would be subject to like the new rebooting trend later on with new people. Like if they just stopped doing Jackass and then later on they're like, hey, let's do a new Jackass with new people, it wouldn't have worked. It needed to be the passing of the torch. You need to have the initiation from the old guys, and then that I think is why it worked so well.
Yeah, you even have a moment I think it's in the end credits where Pontius was singing a song to I can't remember what the stunt was, but he's basically saying like, we've paid our dues, now it's time for you guys to step up so we can just sit here and laugh at you. Like, I can't remember exactly how he said it, but
he's
I was
singing
like,
about
that's great.
Zach ass before he jumps in the cactus. off the
Right.
ramp. And
Right.
I thought that was so fucking Pontius. Like he's always there being the clown, keeping everybody's spirits up. And I love that. Even though Pontius didn't have a lot of like stunts, and I was honestly disappointed that there was no party boy in this movie. That was one miss for me. It's just having him there doing the commentary that he does and playing his characters was it made the movie like it made the spaces in between stunts sweeter because he was always there to say something funny or do something funny.
For sure.
And really pull you into that like behind the scenes kind of environment, which this movie had a lot of. You guys notice that? It felt like other Jackass movies, it's like stunt to stunt to stunt. This one felt like you were just hanging out with them and they showed a lot of what was going on.
Which I think is a great point, and I think that's on purpose, because it felt like this movie was a movie about the making of this movie. And that's the bet, because that's all we want. I just want, like, what do you like about Jackass? And we talk about this all the time. Our favorite stunts are like the paper cuts or the massage or the muscle stimulator,
right?
The butt chug, where it just feels like the group just got together and they're like, hey, here's something funny, and you're a fly on the wall in the room as this stuff's going on. And you're right, Jay, they did such a good job of that. Like the number of times they'll cut to a scene where someone's about to get pranked, and it's always Steve-O going to the bathroom, which is hilarious. He gets a soccer ball to the fucking head, which is amazing. He gets exploded in a porta potty.
Yeah.
And those scenes are basically like, it's just behind the scenes. They're doing like a scene read or getting the crew together, and then something happens, and you're like, it's like you took part in the prank. And I think they do lean on that for that reason. That's what we want. We want one more chance to hang out with the crew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it really did feel like that in a lot of ways, like you said. You know, I like that concept of the making of a Jackass movie. In a way, I hope they keep doing more of that if there's going to be more stuff in the future, because it really does. That's a great way to capture the energy of this group. I think we are getting to a point now where we should probably talk about some of our favorite moments and just kind of pick out some of the stunts and things that we really liked about this, and just kind of, you know, have some laughs together. I got to say, though, one last point on just kind of like the movie as a whole package, and the fact that it is kind of like in the age of remakes. That's kind of almost what this is. It's playing off your nostalgia. I mean, for example, this released pretty close to the same time as the Matrix Resurrections. And it's funny to think that Jackass and the original Matrix were actually movies released around the same time in the same era. And here we are, interesting. Yeah. All these years later, getting two reboots of
Dude, you're missing one. There's also Spider-Man, which is like all of this shit, like Spider-Man No Way Home. It's like a similar kind of concept where this... I think what's happening is movie studios are realizing that people who loved things from the early 2000s now have money to spend and want to revisit their nostalgia. So we're being marketed to directly, which is kind of a nice feeling.
We're all
like, give me what I want.
Yeah. But listen, one thing I got to say is that going to this movie, as opposed to going to The Matrix, when I went to The Matrix, I'm a huge fan of that series, by the way. I walked out of there thinking, oh, that was good, right? Yeah, it was good. It was good. And then as the weeks went on, I just realized, no, that was a fucking train wreck, and I did not like that movie.
Oh, I liked The Matrix one. I liked it a lot.
I couldn't, guys. It didn't feel like a Matrix movie to me, and that's a whole nother discussion. But I think with this one, I didn't have any doubts when I walked out of there. I was like, fuck yeah, that was good. It maybe wasn't as big and as grand as some of the previous Jackass movies, but goddamn, it was a good time, and I'm so stoked on this. Let's talk now about some of the big stunts. Who wants to jump in with one? Anyone got any?
I want to jump in. I want to jump in quickly with something that I did not expect, because it turns out it wasn't even the funniest sketch stunt, but it was definitely the most dangerous one. Was such an unassuming stunt, which is the marching band one, which fucking annihilated half of the people who took part in it. You got 2 concussions coming. Basically, it's just guys dressed up, the Jackass crew dressed up as
the treadmill.
On the treadmill. They're dressed up as a marching band, and they walk across a treadmill that's going at full speed, which feels like it's an advertisement for whatever the brand of this treadmill was, Tough something, because it's like literally front and center in the screen. There were a couple moments of this where they're clearly trying to sell something, like the Steve-O's skateboard one. He's selling decks when the skateboard guillotine comes down on his shins. It's like front and center the deck that he ended up selling. Anyway, this one was so dangerous, apparently, that everyone it shot off of the treadmill landed basically on their head. Steve-O was concussed. Knoxville was concussed. But I think one of the things that really spoke to me about this one was that Johnny Knoxville, one of the things we love about him is even when he's concussed or in pain or can't handle it, he still finds a way to turn on the charm. And he did that in this as well. He knows how to be a fucking champ even when he's concussed. He's talking to the camera. He's clearly super loopy, but he's trying to like add to the stunt as opposed to just being like, get me to the fucking hospital.
Yeah, we talked about what I think was the standalone sketch, like not the standalone sketch, but the biggest one was the Silence of the Lambs. So I'm going to go into this more of like small little, there's like one or two things. I really liked Dark Shark, who was Jasper's dad with the tarantula standoff. Because he is just so scared. You could tell he's a hardened man. You know what I mean? They said he's an ex-criminal. He's been to jail for a bunch of times, but he doesn't like bugs. And he's just, he's how I would react around a snake. I just would give up. Like, I'm like, just kill me now. It's not worth it at this moment. So that just failure and his body just shutting down was absolutely hilarious. And to see the Sarcophilus Satanicus boys again back at it with Wee Man getting his dick bit by a fucking vulture was absolutely hilarious.
The raw meat and I love when Wee Man comes out. They're in this graveyard setting and he lays down and he's just got, like for about 30 seconds, no one questions why he's got this erection going on until someone says, "Is that you, Wee Man?" He's like, "That's all me." And then Knoxville doesn't believe him, so he comes over and he rubs it and he's like, "That is him." And it's like, oh man, that was just like so fucking
you know what's funny about I'll say this about the Wee Man Vulture one, and then I do have something I want to talk about with Dark Shark and the tarantula. But with Wee Man putting the meat all over him and having a vulture eat from him, Steve-O did this in Wild Boys, this exact thing, and fucking couldn't do it. He hated it. And it wasn't even as bad. It was like around, like they put it in.
And I don't even think the bird was as big. It wasn't a big vulture. It's a different kind of, like this was way sketchier. And Wee Man really stepped up.
It was really impressive. And then great, like, Jeff Tremaine, the director of Jackass and a producer, has always had these good like stand-in moments from like behind the camera. And this one's so funny when Wee Man's like, "Get me out, Jeff!" Like he turns to Jeff. He's like, "Get me out! I can't do this. Get me out of here!" And Jeff says, "Well, we can't because the bird's there." That's the point. But Jeff's like, "No, sorry, Wee Man. I'm not going to take a risk with myself and the bird. You're going to have to deal with this."
And they get mad at Wee Man. Did you kick that bird? No, I swear I didn't kick the bird. He's like, "Man, someone get me the fuck out of here right now." Hilarious. That's so spot on.
For I want to mention though with the spider and with Dark Shark, this one surprised me and I loved it as well. But the thing that surprised me about it was I've never seen the Jackass crew more scared of anything in my life than they were scared of Dark Shark. They were fucking petrified of this guy.
Yeah, he's an ex-con, man. He's a tough guy.
They were like all like coddling him just about because he was losing his mind with the spider, so much so that Ehren won the game, which is basically to see like who the spider goes and touches. And they just still said he lost. They're like, "We're not putting this guy through this. He scares the shit out of us," and good on him.
Holy shit, guys. There's one thing that I can't believe we haven't talked about yet. So I'm bringing it up right fucking now. I don't know what I have done. I don't know how I willed this into existence. That which should not exist. Go back about 10, 15 episodes. It's somewhere in our podcast history. Tori Belleci, former Mythbuster, holding a blowtorch up to Steve-O's puckered butthole underwater. What is happening?
Forget about that.
Did I really predict that there would be a Mythbusters Jackass crossover? I didn't mean to fucking do that, but I just was watching the movie and suddenly I'm like, I recognize this motherfucker. Holy shit. And I couldn't believe it. And the thing I love about Tori Belleci being there is that he's totally just the same he is, like, presentation wise, is on Mythbusters. Like, he's not just like, "Hey, I'm on Jackass, I'm just gonna fool around and be myself." He's very professional. He's very like, he's in it for the science. That's why this man is here. He loves science. He takes science very seriously. And here he is fucking blowtorching Steve-O's asshole underwater to light a fart on fire. I like, this was a moment where I just like couldn't believe this was happening. It just seemed too weird given the history of our podcast and all the jokes we've made about fucking Mythbusters on here.
It's so true.
So weird.
It was amazing. And you get a real moment of surprise in this one because they're basically trying to, the premise of this one's great, where it's like, we've been trying to light an underwater fart since the history of Jackass. And finally we're going to do it. We're going to get the fucking Mythbuster to do it.
And isn't that what Jackass is done so often? They have a concept, they try it out. And you'll even see at the end of the movie, they do a montage of these better versions of these initial pranks that they do. And it's always trying to figure it out. So continue, Mikey. But
so it was great to see him there. And I think you're right, Jay. This wouldn't have been as good if he tried to be funny. Because whenever they have cameos, I never find it lands as well when the person's trying to be funny along with them. Like even PK Subban almost leaned into it a little bit too much of like he's in on the joke. Francis Ngannou was a fucking terrifying. We're talking about the nut shots on Danger Ehren.
Yeah. God.
But these like those moments, it works so much better when the person comes and tries to be the expert. I think as well about like Wild Boys, when you had that fucking the porcupine fucker from that one episode who clearly wants to sleep with porcupines, trying to make jokes and joke along with them. And it's like, no, you have to play the straight man. Let the jackass people be funny. You do your own thing. And they get the result. The whole fucking rig explodes on Steve-O, which was insane.
Yeah. Oh my God. So many moments here. It's hard to pick through all of them, but you did just mention the cup test, which was Ehren McGhehey getting punched in the nuts and all sorts of stuff. Let's talk about this for a minute because I feel like the subtitle for this fucking movie could have just been like Jackass Forever, Ehren McGhehey's dick no longer works. Because like, holy shit, this guy's penis takes, and his testes, they take,
and his balls,
a fucking beating. And it's not just in one stunt, it's the whole fucking movie. There's multiple beatings to his package. And it's like, I don't know why he agreed to do so many of these. Like, let's talk about the fucking cup test. So this goes back to Jackass, the first season of the show. They're showing off Johnny Knoxville getting kicked in the nuts by the little kids wearing the cup. They're taking this to a whole new level. We've got, as you already mentioned, PK Subban, professional hockey player, the MMA fighter, and you've also got a softball pitcher. And they're all just aiming for his balls. And it's like the fact that I thought it was going to end after the MMA punch, which is scary. That was fucking scary. They said that guy punched like at the same speed as same amount of force as a Ford Escalade going like 100 or something ridiculous.
He dented the cup. Remember they show at the end of the movie he dented the cup.
No,
with
that
his
was PK Subban's. That was PK Subban's
another slap shot. But the fact that it just kept going, there was the punch, the softball, it was like, wow.
Which one would you guys want to do the least?
Oh, we didn't even mention.
Which would be the one
we didn't even mention Dave England on the pogo stick as the finale.
Yes.
So
if you asked me before going into it, which one I'd want to do the least, I would probably say the punch from Ngannou. Yeah. But in terms of results, the pogo, because I wouldn't have thought about it sliding and moving it out and clipping the fucking nuts at the end. That was the worst one.
Bloody nuts, man.
Did you see Dave England's reaction before he saw the results? When he landed the pogo stick, he immediately looked to the camera like, guys, I fucked up. This was bad. Like he knew something went wrong. And it was, did what's his name end up vomiting, the cameraman? Why can't I think of the cameraman's name?
Not
Cossack.
Not Cossack. It's Glenn.
No. You guys keep talking. It'll come to me. But I think he threw up because like Aaron's balls are bleeding, which is fucking disgusting.
Oh, it's so scary to see. Oh, you know what was funny? Speaking of that, the concept of, I never saw a flat penis, but when they made the ping pong paddle,
oh my god, yeah. The fact that Pontius even says, it doesn't really even hurt, actually. Like, I was expecting him to be screaming, but he's just like, no, it doesn't hurt. And like they've got that squished down to like the thickness of like, I don't know, 10 sheets of paper or something. It's not like it's
like when you're a kid and you preserve leaves in books.
Yeah.
Laminated. Oh god. Yeah.
I do want. I don't think we before we move on from all of Danger Ehren's nut shots. The shot of the softball pitcher throwing the ball, hitting him, turning around and saying, let's fucking go, as the camera kind of follows her back and still keeps him in the background, is fucking art. Like, we talk about how much better at just filmmaking the Jackass crew got, probably thanks to Jeff Tremaine.
Yeah.
But that's like, what a great shot. It aesthetically was perfect. And the timing was perfect. I was like, man, they got so good at doing this. And it's so good to see the fruits of their labor because, man, remember we went back to watch season 1 of Jackass and it was not what we remembered Jackass being.
Yeah, exactly. Man, there's so many good, you're right, like shots and consideration into what they're doing when it counts. Like, here's a good one. Speaking of shots that I really liked in this film is when they fake interview Dave England, and this is right coming off of the electric dance floor. He's wearing a tuxedo. He looks like his hair's all messed up. He's obviously like been sweating and stressed out. He does not look in any shape to do a, movie trailer type interview. But here he is. They got him sitting on the set, and they're asking him these questions. Now we got that little interstitial before where they Knoxville's at the farm, and he's like, "We have 6 gallons of pig cum." And I want to talk about that and Pontius's involvement in a second. But when the cum comes down, the cum comes from the ceiling, and Dave England's sitting there. We get a slow motion shot, and I love when Tremaine's telling everyone, look, wait for it. And one small drop, like this is 6 gallons, and just one small drop comes up, like deflected off the chair right into his mouth. That was so fucking funny.
It was so good. The whole
and the
crew
fact that he
loved
caught that was...
I wonder, like, honestly, this is a question that I would love the answer to. What was the pig cum budget on this movie? Because they go through a lot of it, and you got to get it from somewhere. Who do you go to? Why do they have that much?
Yeah.
How long did it take them to get it, and what did they have to pay?
Well, clearly,
where's all this pig cum coming from?
Clearly, they bought too much because it was making appearances in other segments as well.
Jay, you can never buy too much pig cum.
That's not true.
How dare you?
That's not true. I mean, a man can only take so much. Just look at Chris Pontius, which I love when they point the camera at him and no one has to say anything. He just starts smiling, and the whole theater, the people who know, are laughing because this is the guy who drank the horse cum, and he just says, "Why are you looking at me?" And immediately picks up that bottle and takes a swig. I just thought, what a legend. Like, after how...
And he dropped his famous line too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, that's seeming all right.
That's seeming all right. And I just love that, like, after we talked about it in our Jackass Part 2 movie review, where he looks so ashamed in himself, like, immediately after drinking it, like, he's thinking, I'm never doing that again. That was terrible. I don't want my family to see this. And then here he is in Jackass Forever, just like, you know what? Fuck it.
Reclaiming the moment, man.
Might as well just try this one,
it was
too.
great.
Yeah, what if I got to lose? And I loved it. It was funny.
That was another thing where, like, the kids behind us were, anytime cum or dicks came up, that was like a big deal to them. And for the first one being like just Steve-O's fucking dick hanging out in the Beekeeper episode or stunt.
Yeah.
And at one point, the kid behind us says, because basically the whole premise of that stunt is they cover Steve-O's dick with bees, and obviously he gets stung a couple times on the nutsack, which would be awful. But the kid behind us goes, "What kind of porn is this?" And I turned around to him and I said, "The only kind I can come to." And I think that kind of established the relationship between those kids behind us and ourselves. And it was just a great time.
I felt like we gave them that opportunity. Like, don't worry, it's okay to laugh at this shit type thing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
By the end of it, they were so much more on board too. You could tell, like, they just eased up. But they, like you said at the beginning, they were kind of feeling each other out. Like, are we allowed to? Are you going to make fun of me if I laugh at this or that? And then they just fully embraced it by the end.
Man,
I have a good relationship start.
I have a hard time even comprehending how you could go to this and not find this stuff funny or like question it. But I guess, we grew up in the time where people it went from not doing this stuff on TV to all of a sudden it was everywhere. And
ask our parents. Our parents never got it and probably never will, right?
So I think sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's convenient that we're talking about the pig. It's always convenient to be talking about pig cum, obviously. But we're talking about pig cum and the inability to find something funny. If you remember, Chris had the story. We saw Jackass 2 in theaters with our dad. And when he saw when he saw Pontius drinking cum, it was this moment of like, I don't understand what my kids are doing. Why is this happening? And he finally broke, though, when he said, "That's semen all right." Because that's just that. What a great line.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, you can see way weirder shit now, though, I think is the thing, too. Like, you talk about, like, the only kind of porn Mikey can come to. I mean, you go through your search history, I'm sure we'd find a lot more disturbing things than we would find in Jackass Forever.
It's perspective. It's all perspective. I'd appreciate if you didn't yuck on my yum, but okay.
All right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be doing that. That's a dick move. But listen, man, I have a hard time. Is it like, because kids now have seen so much weird shit that this is like they're confused as to why other people find this so funny from our generation? Or is it a thing of like, is it oversaturation, or is it just because they're out of touch with, like, it's just a bunch of old people doing
that's a good point
shit.
Where it's like why is this the whole movie? We get this as jokes in like everything we see, but it did feel like the kids behind us, at least, and some other people in the theater, were more questioning, like, what the fuck am I looking at? So it wasn't an oversaturation. It was like, I've never seen anything like this. Like dick humor in this way. I don't think we get dick humor like you get it in Jackass as much as you do. You don't get it as much today as you did back in the day. And half of that was because Jackass existed. That was what dick humor was at the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like dicks have always been funny, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird like that. This whole thing fascinates me, the gap between the generations. It's weird to be going to a Jackass movie like so late in their career. But like I said, I'm glad they're still doing it. There's got to be a couple more stunts we can drop in here before we get close to wrapping up.
I want to mention that one of the funniest things that I saw in the whole movie was, and this was another, like we talk about how we love little dioramas, like little miniatures.
Right.
Preston Lacey's ball punch was so fucking funny. You got like that massager kind of thing where it's like shooting like very rapidly, like with two heads, and they put little punching, like boxing gloves on them, so that as you hold the button, it looks like the hands are punching really fast. And instead of a speed bag at the top of the roof, it's Preston Lacey's balls hanging out, and they get hurt so bad that they try to get a second shot. Jeff just arbitrarily tells him they need a second shot, and Preston Lacey's like, all right, I guess he needs it. He's the director. What do I know? And you know what? Like if you get hit in the nuts, your nuts like recede into you. He like couldn't put his nuts back through the hole because he wasn't getting that elasticity to like let them hang again. It was, but that shot in slow motion of his balls getting pounded was just, again, art. It's art is what we're looking at.
That actually is. That's so funny. Like I always thought about like that speed bag. It's just that concept of it is just hilarious, and just having the idea that they had to get. And someone was just so casually able to be the ball fluffer and just pull him back down and maybe give him a little massage to get that elasticity back. It was just, who was that again?
I don't even remember. Someone reached in and grabbed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was a great subvert your expectations type of sketch. I love when they do those as well. I gotta give a mention as well to Dave England pooping at the garage sale. You know, great. When he walked in there in his cardigan, I knew, oh yeah, he's going to find a toilet. This man has to shit. And I love that.
Did he know it was going to shoot him up?
Well, that's the thing.
That's the twist.
I was wondering too, because he sits on this toilet. You know, there's people just browsing here, like just innocent, normal people. This was one of the few like in public type of segments they got away with doing. And a big geyser of water shoots him off the toilet. And I just love the people's reaction, not only when he's pulled his pants down and begun to take the shit, but afterwards when Dave England gets shot up into the air and he says, I just don't even know what just happened. And there's this man there who's just looking at him. He's like, I don't know why you were trying to take a shit in there.
That's the funniest thing. They immediately move past the fact that a toilet blew up, and they're like, you deserved that.
Yeah.
Like happy that he got his comeuppance. Like no one's questioning why a toilet exploded. It's like they saw it and they're like,
so true.
Right.
It defies
That's
all
what
logic.
happens when you shit on a public toilet. It explodes. Now let's shame the guy who did it. Like, how do they move on from that so quickly?
Exactly. Oh man, it was great though. If Dave didn't know about that, I would believe him because you could tell he was doing the sucky voice afterwards. He clearly was hurt by that fall.
Yes. Maybe the last one, unless you guys have anything else to say. And I like this because it'll give us one more chance to mention Danger Ehren, who what a fucking star. Like, just an absolute stud, doing all the things that like you'd expect only Johnny Knoxville to do in this movie. And it ends with the stunt I like to call Ehren McGhehey for obvious reasons, where they sit him down and they got him covered in honey and salmon, and a bear comes out. And the stunt itself is okay. Like he's legitimately petrified and they're making some funny jokes watching him from like outside the room and he can see them watching him. But you know how we talk all the time about, you know, was Danger Ehren bullied on the set of Jackass? Like, what was he bullied? Were they harder on him than other people? And it's come out that that's probably the case. There's a moment at the end of this one where the bear's gone, everyone's out there, and he looks like a hostage. And he says to them, and he's shaking. He says, "Is this over? Is it all over?" Like a child. He says it like a child.
He's fucked up.
And it's like part of it is like, oh, that's a funny reaction, but the other part is like, that feels like trauma. You know what I mean? And not to get too serious about it, but it's like, if there was a question of whether he was bullied on set, that answers it. To me, yes.
But Mikey, here's the best part about it I found is right at that exact moment. This is where I thought you were going with this, is that they're like, yeah, no, great job. You did a good job. Gave him a hug. And it was kind of like, after all these years,
yes,
they were so proud of what he was able to do in this movie, and you could tell they gave him a big hug. Yeah, no, we're not even going to fuck with you again. You did more than enough over here, and it kind of seemed like a bit of a closure to me.
It definitely feels like the crew is aware of what he's been saying and is trying to reconcile, but it's just the way he reacted there is like, oh, there's a bullied person in him. But I do agree. I think the cast did a good job of A, giving him the spotlight, and B, congratulating him afterwards. It was nice to see.
Yeah. And now he shits his pants every time he smells salmon. And God, that guy's been through a lot. Him and fucking Dave. I know we said it already, but like if there is an award for most PTSD, it's going to them. They got to share it though. Listen, I know you said you want to wrap up here, and I'm on board with you. I think we're getting close to our end, but there are two I want to mention real quick because I think I'd be remiss. This one I'm going to mention real quick. Save the best out of these two for last. So this one I got to mention. It wasn't anything overly remarkable, but it was a good shining moment for the new guys. This was the lubed up slip and slide down the big dirt hill.
Oh yeah.
I thought this was fun. It wasn't anything
really
too
good.
crazy, but just seeing these guys take the bumps and basically just having the old crew on site to watch them. And it was kind of like it felt like a test to gauge if they were ready, like they had to test their mettle here and take the jump. And there were some really good fucking spills. And I like the creativity. They had one where Poopies was riding. Is it Justin? That's his name, Justin?
I'm not sure who he was. Yeah.
The bigger gentleman.
Oh, Zach.
Zach. Justin, I'm just making
he's
shit
body
up.
surfing. Yeah, quote unquote body surfing.
Fuck me. God, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful moment. I love that they were just like all about it. There was moments where they're like, "Oh, let me say my name in front of the camera." Like they're so fucking excited to be there.
Yeah,
I loved it, man. And wouldn't we all feel
great.
that way? If we were about to introduce a stunt, I think we would.
That's like being able to say live from New York at Saturday night. Like that's like the
Great
thing
analogy.
that you get to say. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I love how he asked first though, like it wouldn't be okay.
Yes. They seem like little kids on set. It was nice that they're fanning out, but then also the passing of the torch. It was a good feeling. This movie just made me feel so good all around.
Yeah, totally. But this is the end of the movie and the final stunt. And the minute I saw colored jugs of milk, I thought of Mikey.
Man.
Mikey very fondly in the theater. I thought he must be loving this right now. And they took it to the next level. Not only do we have regular chocolate and vanilla, or strawberry, regular chocolate and strawberry. We have a variety of flavors and colors this time. I just thought it was great. They're going to go on one of those fucking merry-go-round, Gravitron type things and just puke, but I love how there was a swerve there. My only complaint with it before the army trucks with the paintballs rolled in is that I wish they would have let it go a little longer and had them drink more milk maybe beforehand, because there was not enough puking in this segment, unfortunately.
I agree.
Yeah, even though I don't like to puke, to see someone get shot by a paintball and have that be the thing that releases their stomach enough to start throwing up would have been hilarious. You know what I mean? Like there's always that moment where you're holding in, but just to get actually hurt and have it just spill out naturally would have been fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's funny too, because when this one first started, Chris didn't realize how close we were to the end of the movie, and he ran to the bathroom. As soon as I saw the milk jugs, I was like, no. I thought I was going to miss Chris gagging because of the vomit, because Chris's gag reflex is worse than Steve-O's. But he came back in time, which was nice. And this one was cool too to end off on, because it did kind of feel like the old getting punishment on the new, with the exception of Steve-O, who got hit pretty hard in this one. But it was like all the young guys on the Vomitron getting shot by paintballs. Johnny Knoxville as the general, just like walking through with all the explosions in the background. It was a nice little send-off for him. This was like, at a few moments in this movie, I felt myself getting like really emotional, because it's, this is my whole life leading up to this. And this was one of those as well. This is kind of like the vibe that I expected from the intro a little bit, with just explosions and movement and vomit and this and that. So it was nice to end off on. I think this was a great way to see us off into the sunset. Yeah, I agree. It was good. And, it sucks that the movie ends, because at that point I was just sitting there thinking, fuck, I want to just keep watching more of this. But I think they had a good curation of shit here, and I really enjoyed what they put out for us to watch. There wasn't anything that I watched that made me go, didn't really care for that. Like the whole way through, there was always something to laugh at. So that was cool. I think they did a good job, especially despite the limitations they had with COVID and shit. Good job all around on the movie. Now, before we wrap up, guys, I just want to put the question out there. Was there anything extra you wanted to talk about that maybe revolves around the making of the movie? Speculation for shit you would like to see or think could happen in the future? Just any other comments? Yeah, the
weird
weird thing to me is that around the time of the release of the movie, there was a big rumor, and it almost seemed like it was confirmed that Van was going to be in the movie. that Bam was going to be
one
there.
scene. He at least had one scene in the movie or something
Right.
along those lines.
And unless I missed it, I didn't see him at all. And that was kind of sad. I mean, I made the prediction when we first did the trailer reveal, our first video episode over on YouTube, actually. I made a prediction that this, not really a prediction, but I was like, wouldn't it be cool if this were all a ploy and Bam was going to be in it and this was like a storyline that they were playing up? And it's really fucking sad to know that that wasn't the case because man, Bam did so much for Jackass. And I'm not saying that Jackass crew was wrong in not allowing him to come onto the movie because there's so much involved in that, but just sad that it couldn't work out without taking sides. Just really sad to know that we had this, we got to see our friends again and Bam couldn't be there.
Yeah. I just touching on that issue. I know it's a sensitive one that brings up a lot of debate. There's like, it almost seems like there's team Bam and team Jackass. I think that we need to look at it like these guys really are his friends. And when you're dealing with someone that's an addict or someone that has those issues going on, you can't enable these things. And I know a lot of people be like, well, Jackass, what about Steve-O? They let Steve-O get away with it and this and that. But I think, at least I choose to believe they were doing the best that they thought they could. I think having him not in the movie sucks. And that was a punishment. And I think that was a little unjust, but I just have to, just for the sake of these guys being a group of friends, have to just choose to at least believe that they did have the best intentions. And hopefully, as Jay said later on or earlier on, there might be some deleted scenes. We might get a Jackass, Forever 0.5 or whatever the case may be. And I just want to see him back. Ultimately, we all win if Bam's in the crew, and it's only better when Bam's around. So hopefully they do patch things up and it gets that way. It looks like he's doing better now.
Yeah, you mentioned, Chris, that, they're like, what about Steve-O and this and that and enabling him? But the Jackass crew, there's a story where Johnny Knoxville kidnapped Steve-O, put him in a van, and dropped him off at rehab.
Yeah, they committed to him I think it's like a 1028 or whatever it's called. It's like a temporary insanity thing. So they did do that with him, but
and they take these things seriously. Like I think that I agree with you. I think they had the best intentions at heart, and they probably gave him as many warnings as he needed. Again, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying it does suck that we couldn't have him here.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And
what about you, Jay? Anything else that we missed? Any thoughts? Because once we do that, once we sum that up, I kind of want to go around and just give like our general closing thought on the movie. Yeah. Each of us get a chance to do that because I think that would be a nice way to wrap this up.
Yeah. Just trailing off what you guys were saying about the Bam situation. I think, you related it to Steve-O and his rehab. Seeing your friend go through something like that, they obviously love Bam, even if they're mad at him or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But you learn from that path. Like, you've seen that path that Steve-O took, and they've learned from that experience of what he went through. And they're like, there's probably a lot of shit we should have did differently. We should have acted sooner. Like, they're doing this out of protection for a friend, and like whatever side you may be on or whatever the fucking deal is, at the end of the day, they just want this guy to be healthy. So yeah, I'm with you guys. I hope that, like, if they did film shit with him, we get to see it eventually. That would be super cool. Yeah. Or at the least, if we never do get to see it, it'd just be nice to see them patch things up,
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But who knows? I mean, hey, at the least, we got a really cool movie. At the end of the day, I'm really happy with this. I do want to talk before we give our overall thoughts about the credit sequence, because there was something in here that I'm glad they did. And this goes right into the list of things I got right, guys. Just saying, just pointing that out.
If you're talking about corn, if you're about to mention corn,
get out of my head, Mikey. Get the fuck out of my head. I love it.
We definitely have to touch on this.
Ryan Dunn gets a tribute appearance in the credits. And yes, I am saying I should have won the Best Stunts of Jackass Season 2 contest. Go back and listen to that episode. The first shot of Dunn is corn sledding. Thank you very much.
Which famously on this podcast was panned. Us saying that this was the dumbest fucking stunt. Or at least Chris and me.
Easily in the top 5. Come on, guys. I don't know what's wrong with you. I am not wrong. Ryan Dunn forever. We got to see a couple shots of Dunn, and it was nice that they acknowledged that they clearly have no bad blood, even if, it's obvious. We know Dunn was more on the Bam crew, so I'm glad they didn't let shit there cloud up the fact that this was a good person who they all enjoyed spending time with, and they just wanted to recognize his part in the legacy of Jackass, and I think that was really cool. Cool to see. So I'm glad they did
said. That. I agree. It would be weird if I didn't know that. I don't know that I expected a tribute to Ryan Dunn, apart from maybe something in the title, just like R.I.P. Ryan Dunn or whatever. But this was very nice. It felt like, if we're looking back on the past and recognizing everything that Jackass was and where we've come, you can't do that without covering that gap that Ryan Dunn's left out of our experiences, and that was a nice way to pay tribute to him.
Yeah. And there you go. There you have it. The movie does end, and as Knoxville promised at the beginning, there is a little bit of an interview segment at the end. We don't really need to talk about it, but it is cool. So if for whatever reason you're listening to this before the movie, which you're probably fucking crazy if you're doing that, stick around, because you get to do a little interview with the new cast, and that was cool to see as well.
There's an interview with the new cast. We didn't see that.
No, that's something that only showed on the Wednesday. It was like a special edition kind of thing for people who went to go see it
really?
The day before release, or Thursday, for the Thursday release. But our theater didn't show it. They didn't turn it on, which sucked, because we literally waited till the very end of the credits.
They turned the lights on. I'm like, there's going to be something else. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah, well, you could probably find it on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
So overall thoughts, since I'm already like fucking yapping anyway, I'll just say my overall thoughts and let you guys jump in on it. I think as a package, Jackass Forever is definitely a must watch. It is my least favorite of all the Jackass movies, though, and that's saying a lot because I thought it was fantastic. So it's just, these movies always set a high bar. Like, there's belly laughs to the point that your stomach hurts in any Jackass film, and this had that. And I don't really care so much that they didn't get to do as much interacting with the public, or maybe that we didn't see as much of the old crew doing hardcore things. I understand, you have to be reasonable in this in their age. I'm just happy to have another movie, like I said at the start of this. That was a fucking treat, and thank you to the Jackass crew for putting it out, for going through everything that they did to put it out. And I hope in some capacity that we will continue to see Jackass stuff. One thing I would love to see from a speculation standpoint is like a TV series come back where maybe the new crew is heavily featured. And that would be fucking great. It would work great in the streaming age. Like, fucking do that if you're not doing it already. And if we don't see anything Jackass going forward, honestly, I'm okay with that too, because I never thought this would happen anyway. So
that's
all around, guys. I'm just pleased with this. This was fucking great. And I can't wait till they release it digitally so we can fucking watch it again and do a more in-detailed kind of breakdown of it. So what do you guys think?
Definitely.
To me, it was absolutely incredible. Like, did it have the big crazy stunts and the big brash explosions and all that stuff that some of the others? No, but it had more feels. Like, I don't even know how to describe that. It hit my sentiment. It might have just been because of the delay, but it wasn't just that. They just didn't play off the nostalgia. They created something new, and they built something that they bridged the past and the present and the future all together very nice. And I just enjoyed every second of it. It was just fun. I like the fact, I don't need these big, crazy, scary stunts. I like the feels of them just partaking with each other and having fun. Like, the whole point of Jackass, to me, I've said this numerous times, is just guys who don't want to get old sitting together and just having a good time and just doing stupid shit. And this had more of that than the other movies to me. So I wouldn't say it's my favorite one, but in some ways it actually is. I don't know. It just had a really great vibe. I highly, highly recommend if you like Jackass, and even if you don't, give it a shot, because it's great.
I agree with you 100%. And this kind of goes to what I was saying earlier about how they didn't try to beat the original Jackass 1, 2, and 3. They definitely tried to do something different, and I think that was to its benefit. I agree with what you said, Jay. I don't know. I haven't seen Jackass 3 in long enough to know whether I rate that higher than this or lower. But this is... As far as the movies go, this was definitely not the best one, but it was still amazing. And you know why? It's because you just get more Jackass. It's like having a bad chocolate bar. It's like, even a bad chocolate bar is still chocolate. You're still going to enjoy it. Just because it's not as good as your favorite brand doesn't mean it's not worth having, or you're not going to get some sort of enjoyment out of having it. There were times where I felt like the overall adrenaline wasn't there in the way that some past Jackasses have been, and at first that caught me off guard, like down to the fact that the intro didn't have like some crazy music score. It wasn't as sweeping and energetic. But once I settled into that vibe, I actually found that I really liked it, because I'm an older guy now too. Maybe I just don't want all that crazy excitement. Maybe I just want to watch my Jackass while sipping a little whiskey or red wine by the fire or something like that. Like how some people would read books. I'm just going to watch Jackass Forever. So yeah, all in all, not my favorite of the Jackass movies, but still absolutely worth seeing, and still just such an a phenomenal, unexpected treat that I never thought I would have at this point in my life. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, they may never hear this, but like, thank you to the Jackass crew for doing this. I know that's cheesy, but thank you so much for giving us this.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, guys, you said it. And man, I hope that in some capacity we see more from them and they don't just kind of disappear and go into the shadows and, you know, fucking stay quiet for another 10 years or whatever it is. I hope there'll be more. That's my hope, because it never gets old. That's the thing, right? It just never fucking gets old, and they've proven that. And it's like I said, there's been other remakes and like rehashes of franchises that started years and years ago that I feel like missed the mark, but this certainly did not. And kudos to them for doing a good job on it. And
by the way, Lance Bangs is the name of the cameraman that we couldn't remember. The director.
Yeah, Lance Bangs.
I knew it would come to me.
How come Knoxville was just for men in only one sketch of the whole movie? That really bugged me.
A couple. He had black hair, eh? And then afterwards, he's rocking the grays now.
Yeah, I gotta say, it looks good on him though. He's kind of like he kind of looks like a villain in some movie, you know, just with that gray hair. He looks like he should be a bad guy in some. God, I don't fucking know where I'm going with this. I think I'm doing that thing that I do every time we do one of these, where I think the show was supposed to end.
You just don't want it to end, Jay. You just don't want it to end. Everything's been leading up to this moment.
And no, I just don't want to close it. I don't want to close it. We started a podcast with this episode in mind, and now we're doing it. I just want you to recognize that for a moment, all right? God damn it. Can you do that?
Yeah, behind the scenes, we kind of literally did our whole podcast knowing we wanted enough in the bank. When we led up to this movie, we'd get a little boost, we'd get some new listeners, and they could go back and have enough of a library to go back and listen to. Like, we really did cater everything towards this moment. So if we are seeming a little bit emotional or like we're super into it, like this, we put a lot of hard work and effort and time into this stuff. And we want you guys to really share this out. This is the moment we really are hoping to get a big push. We're doing this. We're having a good time doing it, but share, like honestly, guys, it takes 2 fucking seconds. Like, really, you don't understand how far it goes. I used to watch shit and hear people say this all the time and just never click the like button or do whatever. And I really go back and do that for a lot of these videos because it really makes a fucking difference. Yeah. You start small and it takes a very little bit to bring you into that extra next stratosphere of stuff. And we want that to happen, man. We want to have more stuff. And, who knows, if we get big enough, maybe we could get some guests on from Jackass one day and really bring some cool stuff to you guys. So fucking do your part, man. Just fucking go like it. Like right now. Like, don't wait. Do it right fucking now, man. Stop being a little bitch. Just fucking do it, man. Come on.
All right. Well, fuck it. We're going to go now at Jackast Pod on Instagram and Twitter if you want to talk to us. Or like Chris said, please just share this shit with somebody you love and respect, or someone you don't love and respect. I don't care. Leave us. You could write us a review too. Pushes us up in the rankings. And hey, if you do that, then more people will see it. So we're happy. Thank you for joining us here for another episode of the Jackast. Hey, I gotta say, guys, we've had some great times on the show. Great moments and memories, like the time that we revealed that Chris has a poo fetish. That was a highlight for me. I loved that episode. If you're new to the show, I want you to know that we're a silly group of guys, and I feel like personally, this is just me. I feel like we knew this was a high stakes episode, and I think we were so excited that maybe we weren't joking and bantering around as much as we normally do. But if you like a dirty podcast, if you like your podcast dirty, shaken not stirred, you're in the right place. Go back and listen way back in our library. Season 1 and 2 we covered earlier on. If you're looking for more Jackass stuff, our most recent stuff, like I said, is Wild Boyz and Viva La Bam. So if you're wondering why the hell, hey, where's the Jackass? Just scroll down. You'll find it. It's there. Thank you for joining us, though. We're looking forward to next week where we've got new things on the horizon. We're starting something new, and I'm not going to spoil it yet, but...
it's season 3. Let's fucking spoil it. Come back next week so you can listen to us review in episode by episode, stunt by stunt breakdown. Season 3 of Jackass. We can't wait to go back to Jackass because, as Jay mentioned, we took a big hiatus doing Wild Boyz and Viva La Bam. Both great episodes and TV shows. Yeah. We enjoyed doing it, but we can't wait to get back to more Jackass.
All right, bye. I'm Jason Weldwood.
Bye, I'm Chris Ehrenworth.
Bye, I'm Mikey Ehrenworth. And this has been Jackass.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Get into it!
This
This was a Press X for Sound audio production.